Welcome to the Active IQ e-clinic for theory test invigilation, focusing on malpractice and maladministration guidance. The aims and objectives of this e-clinic is to go through the role of an invigilator, internal theory test procedures and requirements, key points for compliance, malpractice and maladministration, non-compliance and implications, sampling requests by Active IQ, and a summary. Firstly, let's look at the role of an invigilator. An invigilator is a person who has the responsibility of ensuring that there is proper conduct during examinations. He or she must always be present, be able to move around the examination room during the exam, and must be attentive throughout the entire examination. As an invigilator, you must have a clear understanding of the role of the invigilator and the kind of tasks that you may be required to perform, including managing access arrangements as part of invigilation. You must follow the invigilation procedures at all times. Here is a checklist that you could adopt and use as an invigilator to ensure that you are complying with all requirements. Let's look at the key points. Have you checked to ensure all learners are present and identification is authentic? Are all unauthorised items, materials, bags, equipment and mobile phones placed at the front of the room, including mobile phones to be turned off? Is a clock visible to all learners? And is the start and finish time of the assessment visible? Are the learners informed that they are now under exam conditions? Have you ensured that all learners understand how to complete their answer sheet, personal details, and have all the necessary equipment for the assessment? Have you reminded the learners that they are not permitted to communicate with other learners, and if they need to gain the invigilator's attention, to raise their hand? Have you informed the learners of emergency procedures and when they may leave the room prior to the full assessment time of allocation? Learners will not be permitted to re-enter. Have you announced clearly when the learners may begin? Have you supervised the learners appropriately throughout the whole assessment? Are all scripts secured and the invigilation report completed? And have you had to make any reasonable adjustments in accordance with Active IQ guidelines? Policies and procedures. The following policies and procedures must be referred to in conjunction with theory test compliance. They include external theory assessment procedures, procedures for the security of assessment materials, and the Active IQ reasonable adjustments and special consideration policy. Here are the examples of the Active IQ declaration and form that you must complete if you wish to internally mark. Centres wishing to apply to internally mark theory papers must apply by completing and signing the Active IQ declaration form for internal marking, seen on the previous slide. By completing and signing this, you agree to comply with the Active IQ terms and conditions for internally marking multiple choice theory papers. The procedures include learners to sit theory papers in compliance with the Active IQ invigilation guidance, which refers to the Active IQ terms and conditions for internally marking multiple choice theory papers. Papers should be marked within 5 days of the learner sitting the exam in a suitable place, so the marking should take place away from learners, by the designated first marker. The first marker should clearly show evidence of marking and the result, for example, the marks gained overall, marking for each question, the percentage overall, a pass or refer, date marked and their signature. The second marker must sample a minimum of 30% of each cohort within 10 days of the first marker. If any anomalies are found, 100% must be sampled of that cohort. The second marker must also show evidence of marking, to include the result, percentage, pass or refer, a signature and date. Learners should be informed of their results as soon as possible. The learner achievement portfolio should be updated to reflect the results. For centres using the ActiveIQ web-based registration and certification service, each learner's exam result should be entered into your appropriate class ID for each learner. For centres that use ActiveIQ's paper-based certification system, an X should be placed in the appropriate unit box when claiming learner certificates. Centres should store all tests securely for a minimum of 12 months from the date the centre claims the certificate. Key points for compliance. Here is a list of the key points to ensure that you comply with the requirements. Remember the time frame between the first and second marker. First marker must mark within 5 days of the learner sitting the exam, and second marker must mark within 10 days of the first marker. There must be clear evidence of marking on the learner's answer sheet to include signatures, dates, results, marking of each question. Correct results must be entered on quartz. If a mistake occurs, contact ActiveIQ immediately. Store tests securely for a minimum of 12 months after you claim the learner certificate. Send in requested samples to ActiveIQ to externally moderate promptly. Malpractice and maladministration. Malpractice is the deliberate intent which affects the integrity of the tests and/or results. Maladministration is the non-deliberate action which results in affecting the integrity of the tests and/or results. Examples could be malpractice, deliberate non-compliance with invigilation procedures, falsifying results, learners given access to correct answers, the learner or the centre allowing another person to sit the test on behalf of the named person. This would be classed as a false identity. Incorrect and insecure storage of tests, answer sheets, question papers and correct answers. Examples of maladministration could include non-deliberate entering results incorrectly on quartz or within the learner lap, non-compliance with certain areas of invigilation procedures which do not affect the learner's result. For example, not writing down the start and finish times for the learners to see, as the invigilator forgot, but they did verbally confirm. Non-compliance with marking procedures which do not affect the learner's results. For example, forgetting to write pass or refer, but they have complied with every other aspect. Non-compliance and implications. Malpractice, whether suspected or proven, will result in an initial investigation. If proven, will result in a sanction and possibly the ability to internally mark will be temporarily or permanently removed from the centre. The centre will be required to complete a report to mitigate against all future risks. Maladministration, whether suspected or proven, will result in the centre being given an action plan to complete, and if proven will result in a sanction being issued, which will be lifted once the action plan is completed. The centre will be required to complete a report to mitigate against all future risks. It is best to be honest when you discover an issue. Contact ActiveIQ who will be able to advise you on the required actions. You may be able to prevent the level of sanction being escalated if you are honest from the start and discover the issue yourself, rather than ActiveIQ discovering it. Sampling requests by ActiveIQ. ActiveIQ will request a sample of tests to moderate depending on the size of your centre, how many qualifications with tests you invigilate, and how many tests you invigilate each quarter. You will receive a request via email stating the class IDs which have been selected and a deadline to send them to ActiveIQ Office by. You must comply with this deadline. Failure to do so may lead to a sanction. If you cannot meet this deadline for any reason, please tell us why in the first possible instance. We will moderate the tests and complete a report which we will then send to you via email. We will post back the test via recorded delivery to your centre's address. In summary, you should now understand the role of an invigilator, internal theory test procedures and requirements, key points for compliance, malpractice and maladministration, and non-compliance and implications, and sampling requests by ActiveIQ. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this guidance e-clinic. If you have any questions, please contact your EV directly. Thank you.